Hey, what's up again, everybody? It's Robert184, 2Rs, 2Bs from YouTube and gundam.tk, and episode 8 of Gundam Age has aired, and I'll just start things off with a bit of a comment. It's been a little bit of a disappointment that they've done this Fardain 3-episode arc, which has seemed to have gone on just a little bit too long when it's stacking up compared to Unicorn episode 4, showing us exactly how Gundam should be. However, there will be some good and bad about the episode, so let's get on with the recreation. You may recall that the last episode ended with a very impressive appearance of the Gundam Titus, but this episode is going to go back and fill in some of the blanks, mostly just in the form of showing it off, sort of like a large toy commercial. But in terms of plot, you've got the regular Genoist going at it with the Bacto, which was quite impressive in terms of just the fact that the Age 1 couldn't really go at it last episode, and he's standing up, but as he's about to get beat down, you've got Flit in the Age 1 normal minus a shoulder, which I should have taken off. He shows up and all of a sudden the giant egg that is the Age system is going to produce, yes, one limb at a time, all the parts that he's going to need for his new wear. And then the whole episode is about showing off the power of the Titus. And I'm gonna have to admit that it was actually a pretty cool thing to see the refit scene. The whole time there's gonna be a bunch of kids hanging around on the ship, but what I was focused on was just the whole the mobile suit and the plastic model aspect of it. I sort of held off on this episode because I wanted to build the high grade, and as they drop it down, you'll notice that the Age 1 normal has blue shoulders here, but instead the Titus is going to have red shoulders. They even went to that much detail in the anime, dropping the limbs in, and everything looks identical to the model, so kudos to them for at least getting everything to look the same. And as you get a whole bunch of impressive looking freeze frames of it from the left, right, and center, and the obligatory name of the Gundam, all of a sudden it's time to go out and Flit to save the day of this guy from his butter knife futility. And though I like the whole aspect of seeing the Titus get shown off, you have to wonder, were 7 or so minutes really needed to catch us up to exactly where we were before? You may recall that Flit left the Elba and the Zalam and the generic sort of old school enemies and their hard-headed people pilots who won't give up the past. They were left fighting 2 Gafrans, and here I have to give full props to the Gafrans. They actually came across as being incredibly impressive. Here the Zakos were just played by first grade Exia here. They were just getting torn apart, but the Gafrans did it with style and looked very cool doing it until you can guess the Titus shows up. However, the seeds are starting to be born between the two of them that they can actually get along against the common enemy. During the battle, the high grade gets a nice show off with its Lariat of Doom there, well reflected in the way the toy's put together. And since Don Voyage and Ract can't do anything by themselves in terms of actually finishing one off, we do get to see a unique take on the whole blow up a mobile suit while hitting the reactor or chest area. We've seen it with beam sabers, beam rifles, and everything in between, but how about a giant red Hulk fist through the chest? Pretty good way for one of those Gafrans to go. And if you're looking for another way to go, how about a charging knee from the Titus with some energy spikes? Yeah, Char's got nothing on that. Nah, you can't really say that. And during the commercial, don't forget you can see so many reviews of Gundam Age kits and lots of other Gundam stuff right here on my channel and gundam.tk. Throughout it all, you can see that the Zalam and the Elba are listening to Flit's wise words and starting to think more and more about getting past their hatreds for each other's having silly names. The toy commercial starts to take a turn though when they find out that there's going to be 3 Bactos, and after the difficulty in dealing with just one, even Grudek shows up for pretty much his only real important appearance and says, "This may be too much for the Titus alone." The Titus then gets itself locked off with one of the Zetises, pretty much grappling in a non-factor for the rest of the episode, and as the Zakos, despite the fact that they're working together, are about to get schooled by the Bacto, yes, we're going to need somebody else to show up and save the day. And as the black mobile suit fell from the sky, I could only say, yes, it's Graham-Acre in an overflag. And with the Bacto slashed in half with a huge pink beam saber, yes, Wolf, who ran off last episode to get a new suit, appears and as his personal mark shows off, his new one, the GXs. And if one beam saber wasn't enough, well, how about 2 in a Roronoa Zoro pose, as Wolf cuts through the second one with 2 oversized beam sabers and then brags about the 3 things that his Super MS brings to the table. We're talking maneuverability, his huge beam sabers, or the Wolf Fangs borrowed here from the real grade Freedom, which are oversized as it is, not to mention the pilot itself, Wolf. And the action ends with Flit getting out of his stupor and remembering, hey, we've got to sell some Tituses too, effect parts popping out his shoulder, doing everything that it can, cutting through the beam parts that are coming out of the back to his chest. Hopefully we're going to be getting some effect parts of that, as he rams his shoulder Maxter style, and knocks out the back toe to win the day. And everything wraps up with the Zackos realizing that they're almost going to have a handshake, who the real enemy is, and a scene that I think we're going to see a lot. Humanity led by Wolf and Flit going to take on the UE. A relieved Emily shows up for about half a second, and Wolf doesn't want the Titus, well, because mostly it's not red. And we do have a setup with an MS dealer, which is where Wolf went and traded in his Genoese custom for the GXs with his hot anime wife, implying that yes, there's a MS dealer here, and that's going to change everything, and a shadowy appearance from, yes, the Zetis, if you caught it in the MS hangar. Overall, I had pretty mixed thoughts about the whole episode. If you do like action, I think you'll like this episode. There was absolutely no character or plot development whatsoever. Pretty much the first half was showing off the Titus, the second one the GXs, and I have to say that the little bit of a teaser, and if you watched what is coming up next week, that looks better already. In terms of mobile suit of the week, well, the first 7 minutes it belonged to the Titus, and then it belonged to the Gaffran for a few minutes, believe it or not, and then the GXs with its oversized wolf fangs was fantastic, and it looked great, especially everything that I saw in the MS there with the oversized shield and everything. Look forward to seeing it on the high grade. But in terms of character, who could you name? Racked I thought was okay last episode, did nothing this time except show off he has a terrible haircut. And I think that this episode is going to come across to most people as, if you want to diss on Age for just being too much of the same and too cliched, especially with the Zackos all getting along, then I'm going to say you'll probably hate it. And if you want to give it a chance, well, you can give it a pass. But I hope that the arcs get a little bit better. Some intrigue next week, and the return of the Zetas should hopefully heat up a few things and create a little bit of tension, especially if we learn who some of the pilots are. But I hope things get better, especially when you're comparing this, not to that guy in Unicorn mode, but I'm talking to Unicorn. But that's just me, so what did you think of this episode compared to other ones of Age or other stories in Gundam, and what about in terms of debuts of mobile suits, whether you want to count this one or last week for the Titus? In the end, the Bacto sort of got downgraded to just regular Grunt, a step up from the Gaffran, I suppose, but I look forward to seeing Flit take on some aces from here. Anyway, everybody, Robert184 gundam.tk, check out all the reviews of all these suits. See you next week, everybody. Bye.